That's how we did the last like 3 episodes.
Yeah,
Anyways, like an hour
I
long.
don't
So
see us going longer than an hour.
yeah, so just
Sounds good. All right. You ready?
yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna do the 1, 2, 3 record.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, record.
Recording.
All right. We open the show. Okay, yeah. Hello and welcome to Matt and Brendo's wrestling show. It's been a while, man.
It has. It has been since before WrestleMania.
What? I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know what happened. I think we just got a little, I don't know, overzealous.
You know what I blame? I blame because what had been keeping our schedule was we would do an episode every time there was an MWE show. And
Yeah.
then no more MWE, and we were without. We were suddenly bowling without bumpers for the first time.
Yeah, there hasn't been that. There hasn't been a QPW show in forever.
Yeah.
I started talking to wrestlers at during WrestleMania week, but then Michael Elgin scared the shit out of me, so I I just kind of I didn't get any bumpers, even though looking back there was a situation where I was just like I could have gotten so many bumpers. When I think about it, I could have gotten Shane Douglas. I definitely could have gotten Chris Hero and Johnny Gargano, and probably Trent Beretta.
Yeah.
A bunch of those guys. And it was because I tried, like, I don't know, it's weird talking to wrestlers, because I'm like, I don't know, it's weird. I get freaked out.
They're an intimidating type.
I got freaked out talking to Michael Elgin, and then I'm like, I don't want to talk to wrestlers anymore.
What happened with Michael Elgin?
Well, so, hold on. So I went to, I'm trying to think of the timeline here. Okay, so just in case anybody doesn't know what happened, I went to WrestleMania. I went to New Orleans for a week. I went to 8 wrestling shows, or 10 wrestling shows, some crazy amount of wrestling shows in like a week. It was a lot of shows. And so I went to Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor on that Friday night, and it was an Elgin and Steen had, like, so far to me was my match of the year. Like, it was incredible. And so the next day they had a card at they did like a super card kind of thing at WrestleCon, which was amazing, and Michael Elgin was wrestling on that, and I believe he teamed up with like Steve Corino, or maybe it was against Steve Corino, and Matt Stryker was on the team with Steve Corino, and they were really funny.
Nice.
And Steve Corino gave like one of the best promos I've ever seen, disparaging New Orleans. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But anyways, so at WrestleCon, I went up to, I was just trying to be nice, and like I went up to Michael Elgin. I'm like, man, that was the best match I've seen all year, and he's like, thanks, man. Would you like to buy one of my DVDs? And I'm just like, how much?
You said it was the best match you saw that year, but no, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to buy a DVD.
Exactly. I mean, I get it, but also I'm like, come on, dude. I spent all my money getting here to New Orleans, and I had just spent $100 getting a boot off my car, and so I kind of like, I don't have any. Do you take card? And he's like, no, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay. And then I was like, oh, sorry, I don't have any cash. And he's like, that's cool, man. And I'm like, are you going to be back here tomorrow? He's like, no, man, I'm hitting the road. And I was like, okay. And
well, that seems like that's the best case scenario.
But it was still just weird and awkward. And plus, this is like a 300-pound man that could easily hold me over his head. And like, because he's ripped.
Yeah.
And scary. And he still had the mullet at this time, and like that just made him scarier for some reason.
He's a Canadian, Brenda. He's not going to do anything mean.
That's true. Kevin Steen was cool. I talked to him a lot.
Yeah.
And I talked to Colt Cabana. He was awesome. And I feel bad because I'm like, when are you going to be in LA? He's like, I don't know. I'm talking to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Oh.
And then we ended up not going to that thing. And I totally could have been like, hey, I was the guy in New Orleans that asked you. And I'm sure he would have remembered that because he doesn't talk to a million wrestling fans. But maybe because there wasn't a lot of people from like the West Coast.
Yeah.
I can see. There was a girl I hung out with from Alaska.
Huh.
There was people from all over the world. That was the best part. There was people from literally all over the world. I talked to this Japanese couple for a long time. I met a bunch of British dudes, Irish dudes, people from all over. Like, it was just like this huge, giant gathering of wrestling fans, and you could just start talking to anybody. I had like awesome conversations with people online because you just be like, where are you from? What are you looking forward to seeing? You going to any indie shows? And what are you looking forward to WrestleMania? Like, instant conversations. It was amazing. And also, half the people were drunk most of the time.
Makes it easier.
I did talk to some wrestlers when they were drunk. Demolition Smash bought me a beer.
Nice.
Barry Darso, also known as Repo Man.
Yeah.
And he was just buying beers for lots of people. I don't think I was special. He was just like, you want a drink? And I was like, okay. And then Ric Flair was buying drinks for tons of people. He just showed up at WrestleCon on Sunday morning and was just headed straight to the bar and just was buying drinks for people. But it was a crazy scene.
Yeah.
He did buy Virgil a drink. And I'm like, okay, good on you.
Yeah, it's a heartwarming moment. Virgil finally gets a win.
So I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
And let's see, my other... well, yeah, so we haven't done an episode in a long time.
Yeah.
And I had one other, before I forget, my other New Orleans story that was somewhat interesting was I was at what is rated on multiple foodie sites as the best crab cakes in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And it's like this little stall in like a mall of sorts. It's like this little mini thing on market. It's the French Market, I guess. And it's like it's amazing. So I'm sitting there eating them, and I was like, and this guy came up, and he wasn't too tall, but he was like big, and he had a hoodie on, and like over his face, I'm like, ooh, it's a wrestler. I just knew, like, I'm like, it's a wrestler. And I'm like, I wonder who it is. And I was trying to figure it out because he was like next to me. I didn't want to. I was like trying to.
You didn't want to overly look at him.
And he was like talking to the lady that ran the place, like they seemed to know each other, and he was being really nice, and then I'm trying to figure it out, and then I finally catch like because he looks down at my food, and I see it's Batista.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh fuck.
And this was to remind you of recent wrestling history, listener. This was the height of the
This was the height of Batista.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate. This is WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah.
He's in the triple threat match. There's still an outside chance that he could walk out of that thing with a title.
Yeah.
So everybody's still kind of like on edge.
Yeah.
And I see him. I'm like, oh fuck. And he looks and he kind of gives me this look like, please don't make a big deal out of this.
Yeah.
And because he doesn't want to get mobbed. And so I'm just kind of, he looks at my food and I'm eating and I'm like, I give him a thumbs up and he gives me a thumbs up. Yeah. And then he's talking to the lady and she gives like these, I think he was getting food for a bunch of people, either that or he's just like, eats a ton. Because it was like 4 giant bags to go. And then he put like $75 in the tip jar.
Nice.
Like a huge, crazy tip. And I'm like, I can't dislike Batista now because that was really awesome.
Yeah.
And also he was nice enough to at least acknowledge me, and he gave me a thumbs up, and he knew he knew it's like some fat dude by himself WrestleMania weekend. He knew what I was there for.
Yeah, you had the nice Captain America moment in the movie when he's in
It was totally the Captain America moment.
Yeah. Except like if the kid was thinking like, man, I mean like Captain's cool, like it's cool to see him, but like it'd be sweet if Iron Man was here. Like if that's what the kid was thinking.
Yeah. Well, the thing that was crazy was that the lady was talking to me. She's like, "Oh, you're here for WrestleMania?" He's like, "So I guess you know who that was?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "He comes here all the time. They're all great." And he's like, "Daniel Bryan was sitting where you were sitting 2 hours ago," and I'm like,
"Oh man,"
because I guess it's one of the only places Daniel Bryan will eat because it's like super healthy. And
Well, he eats crab? I thought he was vegetarian.
I don't think he is anymore. And also,
Okay.
they have vegan food there, so they're very healthy. It's like a super health food place.
Huh.
But they do have crab cakes, and they're like the best crab cakes you will ever have in your entire life.
Yeah.
It was called Meals from the Heart.
Hmm.
If anybody in New Orleans, French Market, Meals from the Heart, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And a lot of wrestlers go there. Let's see. So yeah. What else? Let's do our reader. We got a reader mail.
Yeah.
Listener mail. Sorry, reader mail is Radio Brenda, man. We're not dumb like that here.
Yeah.
So this is from Steve Espinoza. Listens to most of our podcasts, so appreciate it. All right. So he says, "Hey guys, not sure when the next podcast will be posted, but I thought I'd share this with you and ask you a question. Currently, it is June 27th. Yep.
Yeah.
So CM Punk is still not on TV.
That's still true today.
Still true. I had a dream last night that AJ Lee and myself are somehow close friends. One day I decided to let her know how I feel about her man Phil, formerly CM Punk. Oh, you mean Phil Brooks, Walking Dead enthusiast, is his new... That's kind of his new title.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what I told her, but whatever I said made her angry. She gives me a dirty look and storms off in a hurry. The rest of the dream is me walking around town looking over my shoulder because I'm paranoid that a guy with chops and tats is going to beat me up for upsetting his girl. This isn't my first pro wrestling related dream, and I assume that you guys may have had some of your own. Are there any you two would like to share? Oh, dude, I have them all the time. Not like all the time. Like, I have more dreams, like, that are more frequent, like 90210, Saved by the Bell, Disneyland dreams.
Sure.
Sometimes all combined. But the last wrestling dream I had that I can remember is I was a manager, but then like I got asked to wrestle, and I was scared because I knew I was gonna get destroyed, and I got hurt. But then I was still being an awesome manager, and it was in like some weird indie fed that had like a combination of all kinds of wrestlers that I'd encountered. And Antonio Cesaro was the champion.
Nice.
I remember that, and I was his manager.
As Cesaro or as what's his real name? It's too many syllables.
He was not Claudio Castagnoli. He was Cesaro still. Yeah. But my other wrestling dream that I remember strongly, I've had a few dreams like this, was Vince McMahon hired Kevin Smith to direct WrestleMania, and then like I was like his assistant, and I just remember Vince McMahon like screaming, like Kevin and Vince like screaming at each other over like the direction of the show.
Do you remember any details of what Kevin wanted to do with WrestleMania?
I just remember Kevin wanted, like, at the end, he wanted this big ceremony, like the Star Wars, like, medal ceremony. And Vince is like, we're not doing that, god damn it! And I think also there was something about putting the title on Batista that Vince wanted to do.
Okay.
And I was really mad about that.
This was a recent
I was like trying to convince. This was like several months ago, but I was trying to.
In light of the.
I'm like, you need to tell Vince, like, don't put the title on Batista.
So you were like half assistant, half consultant.
Yes, it was really weird.
Huh.
And another time I had the same dream, but instead of Kevin, it was Matt Cohen and Max Landis.
Huh.
And they both just got, like, Vince McMahon just fired them both because they were coming up with stupid ideas. I remember they wanted to do, like, a recreation of the triple cage match from
Ready to Rumble.
And Vince is like, that's the dumbest thing ever. Yeah. Which, speaking of that, I found some awesome things on the WWE Network. I started watching a bunch of I was making my way through before they put on Saturday Night's Main Event. I was making my way through the Clash of Champions, and so I was watching one of the Clash of Champions, and they're hyping up this like Pyramid of Death match is going to take place. I think it's Great American Bash, either 88 or 89. And this Pyramid of Death match is something that Kevin Sullivan came up with, which I read online. Did some research, and I guess they stole it from World Class. Like, it's something that Fritz von Erich did.
Huh.
And so You start. It's a triple cage, but the top cage is like super tiny, and you start at the top, and then you make your way down the cage, and then whichever team gets out, all their team members out of the cage wins. And at the bottom was Precious, who was like Jimmy Garvin's manager, and she had the keys to the cage, so she would unlock the cage. And then like there were trap doors, so you could only change floors like once every couple minutes.
Huh.
And they were like every 2 minutes, like somebody from each team would climb up these insane suspension ladders all the way up to the top of the cage. So the first thing right away, I'm watching them set this thing up. I'm like, this is insanely dangerous.
Yeah,
like,
how many
of a miracle that
this?
somebody didn't die. Because like just watching the guys like trying to get up these ladders, and like these are crazy extension ladders up a giant cage. And like there's a couple near-death experience. Like even just at the beginning, the referees and the tech guys going up, one of them almost falls off the ladder.
Jeez.
And I'm just like, this is nuts. And so they're all like super cautious and like going. It's the most boring. Like I'm like, this is gonna be awesome or it's gonna be horrible. And it was horrible, but like it's such a hilarious way because it was so boring. Like half the match is just guys like trying not to fall and die, because there's like 8 people, like 4 people on one side, 4 people on the other. It was like no 5 on 5. It was like Dungeon of Doom versus the Road Warriors and Ronnie Garvin, and I think Dusty Rhodes is in there. I don't remember. But so then they climb up and then they get in this small little cage, and I think the wrestlers didn't realize until they got in there. You really can't do a lot of moves in this tiny cage where if you can't do any jumping moves because you'll hit your head.
Sure.
Like so they're just kind of pounding on each other, and not even that's like kind of like they're like running into the wall. And as soon as they get more than 2 people in there, it's just a total like clusterfuck. And then the trap doors don't work like at all. So like they're so cheap. It's like on this rope, and the rope immediately breaks. So then they're just like kind of opening the trap doors at will, and then like going down to the next floor. And multiple times there was almost some serious injuries, people going from the top floor to the bottom floor. Like so many serious injuries. I know Steve Williams did at some point. And then a few times like they totally screwed up on who was going to be in what floor. You could tell they were like, oh shit, we totally messed up, because there would be like a guy just by himself with nobody to fight. And also, it didn't make any sense. Like, the whole match doesn't make sense because nobody if this was a real thing, you wouldn't just leave your one guy to like in a 3-on-1 situation and then let everybody like you would try to get down to the bottom as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Make sure your team is with you. That is not what these guys did, and it was just clunky and stupid. And it was kind of
what event was this again?
It was a Great American Bash. I think it was either 88 or 89.
Okay.
I can look it up. But it just was proof to me because, people come up with these, like, crazy gimmick matches, and they're like, this is going to be awesome. Yeah. And I feel like this is the gimmickiest of gimmick matches, and it was, like, the stupidest thing. And then there were 2 times that they tried to do triple cage, like, battle, like, Ready to Rumble in WCW, and they both were stupid. So
now, did they try that before or after Ready to Rumble?
They tried one before and one after.
Okay.
Because the first one was like a Tower of Doom match. It was like a variation on War Games, where because War Games works because War Games is gimmicky enough, but it's still pretty much like it's like a 5-on-5, 4-on-4 straight up match. There isn't. Yes, it's a double cage situation, but it's not cages on top of each other, and there's room for those guys to do shit, and it ends up being this cool, brutal match. But the moment you get into like stacked cages and weapons, it gets really stupid really fast.
Yeah.
And let me see this. So
you want just enough of a gimmick that it doesn't become the whole thing.
And
there's a firm line that should not be crossed.
Okay, so hold on, let me see this.
What What are you looking at right now? For the listener.
Yeah. Okay. So that's not it.
Are you looking to see which Great American Bash was at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I don't think it's that important.
I think it's 88 because
Okay.
it's not 89. Well, anyways, that's one of the joys of having the network is if I hear about this, I'm like, because they were hyping it up on the Night of the Champions, and then I'm watching, I'm like, ooh, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
And then I just watched it, I'm like, dear God. But
Yeah.
that's what makes the network amazing. And I don't understand people that bitch that there's not enough to watch on the network. I'm like, that is not true. That
Yeah.
cannot possibly be true. You just don't know. I don't know. Maybe you just don't like old. Like, I guess if you only want to watch brand new stuff, even then there's every pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But like, why? I don't know. I still think that anybody that is any kind of wrestling fan, if you're not satisfied by the network, like, you are fucking nuts. Or you've already watched everything there is to ever watch, and then I salute you, I guess.
Yeah. Or you're British, because it wasn't until these announcements that I didn't realize it wasn't already global. I just assumed.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird that the Brits.
Well, I think it's like different broadcasting deals.
It's a legal thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what about you? Have you ever had any wrestling dreams?
I don't think I have. I can't remember any, to be honest. I don't know why. That's yeah. Sorry. I wish I had something to fill this space right now, but I do not.
It's okay. Well, so other things to catch up on. So I went to New Orleans. I saw a bunch of. I'm really impressed. I also, in addition to going to one of their live shows in New Orleans, I watched some on-demand pay-per-views for Evolve and Dragon Gate USA.
Yeah.
They are really awesome. Like,
Good
if you're not familiar with guys like Ricochet and ACH and Rich Swann, like, you need to familiarize with themselves. Trent Beretta, Johnny Gargano. I hadn't seen these guys. A lot of these guys are big in PWG, but I have yet to be able to go to a PWG show because they always seem to be either on Fridays or weekends where I'm doing something else. Yeah. Like the last PWG show was during Comic-Con. What the fuck?
Yeah.
We missed Candice and Joey won the PWG tag team titles.
Yeah.
And
awesome
have you seen pictures of Candice? She
basically
had no face.
She earned that title for sure.
It's fucking crazy. I want to know what happened.
Yeah.
So big props to them. But yeah, the Evolve shows were awesome, and saw Chris Hero wrestle, and just these guys, they're amazing talents. I still don't understand how and why. I guess WWE released Trent Beretta, and then he's gotten a lot better since being released. He's amazing. Like, he's a great heel.
Yeah.
And a great wrestler. But then Ricochet and these other, like, these guys are the future of wrestling. Like, they're amazing. Everything everybody says about them is true. So it was cool to see all those shows. Very impressed. And yeah, and the Ring of Honor show was spectacular.
Yeah.
Like, if WrestleMania had totally sucked and everything else I went to sucked, I still would have been happy having gone to that Ring of Honor show because it was amazing. The main event, ladder war between Adam Cole and Jay Briscoe, was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Like, just all over the arena, crazy spots, crazy, almost too crazy. There was some chair shots. I don't know why people still do that. Probably a bad idea, but it was brutal. Yeah, Adam Cole is fantastic. And then at the one of the second most amazing show I went to was at WrestleCon itself, their super show. Oh, it was finally got to see what's his name? I always forget his name. He was the NWA champion. He was supposed to wrestle Steen that night and didn't show, or he couldn't. He's the one that was he was trying to be the voice of the Padres.
Oh.
He's on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Yeah. Uh, and yeah, I know who you're talking about. I cannot remember his name either. Uh, shit.
I will find it right now.
I'll also try. We will race, and try to keep talking while we do so.
It is Adam Pearce.
That's right. Scrap Iron Adam Pearce.
Yeah, from San Diego.
Yeah.
So he teamed up with Steve Carino and Matt Stryker against Michael Elgin and some other guys. It was awesome. I wish I remembered some of the. But my highlight of the night, and probably the once in a lifetime match that I got to see, was Kevin Steen wrestled Masato Tanaka, who is insane good shape. I figured he was gonna be like worn out and beat up and like just, but he looks better than he does in his later ECW days. And you could tell that Kevin Steen was just like super stoked about just being there and being able to wrestle Tanaka, and they put on an amazing match. Another great match, comedy-wise, was Colt Cabana wrestled Jeff Jarrett with Karen Jarrett in tow, and I would say what you will about Jeff Jarrett. The guy knows how to get a crowd riled up, and he sure did that. And Colt Cabana is hilarious and amazing.
Yeah,
and
no,
I'm
not
watch him.
I'm not going to
wrestle
disparage
more.
Colt Cabana at all. What was the actual match like?
Oh, it wasn't anything special. It was just really like Cole kept hitting on Karen and pissing off Jeff Jarrett, and I mean it wasn't anything special, but it was entertaining.
Yeah.
Super entertaining. Jarrett was riling up the crowd. I've never been a Jeff Jarrett fan.
I had kind of, I recently found my old Wrestling N64 game that I had.
Yeah.
I found it at a thrift store.
Nice.
And bought it, and booted it up, and all of a sudden I was flush with memories of Jeff Jarrett, who I totally just kind of blocked out from my memories of watching WWF.
Wait, what game were you playing?
This was I always forget the title.
Is it No Mercy?
No, it's I know the cover is red and it's got Stone Cold doing
Warzone.
War something. I wish.
Or is it Attitude?
Attitude. That's the one.
Oh man. That's like the last bad WWF game.
Yeah, it's not a good game.
Warzone for 64 is one of... No Mercy for 64 is like one of the best games. Like when they switched over to THQ, those games are amazing.
I remember my mother promised me that if I stayed in Little League the whole season, she'd reward me with a wrestling game because I loved wrestling. And then the wrestling game that happened to be out at the time was fucking Attitude.
That's okay. I bought Attitude the day it came out.
And I was just like, oh, I played dumb baseball for a whole season for this?
Yeah, because the Acclaim wrestling games, they're not really wrestling games because you have like the fighting move controls, and it gets super repetitive. And, I mean, at least you could make your own wrestlers. Like, that was all right.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the game itself, not so good. They also made the really crappy ECW games after they lost the WWF license. That's funny. That's funny.
But yeah, because I knew who Jeff Jarrett was obviously before that. I had no personal memory of watching him back in the day, and then playing this game, I'm like, oh yeah, he was that terrible guy. That's not good.
Well, he got in a feud. He teamed up with Owen, and then he got in a feud with China over the Intercontinental title.
Yeah, that's what I
remember correctly.
Yeah.
And then he jumped back to WCW, and because of that, he will never have a job in WWF because he totally screwed Vince.
Yeah.
All right, so the thing that I am excited about is WrestleCon just announced that they are going to be putting on WrestleCon in San Jose during WrestleMania weekend. Nice. So, yes, and they're going to be doing a wrestling show.
Yeah. There was some concern that they wouldn't be able to for legal reasons.
So, correct? Yeah, well, what happened was, let me read this off of their site, because they kind of sum it up pretty well. So it says, as many of you know, the WWE imposed restrictions on all buildings that are owned by the city of San Jose and Santa Clara. They also impose non-competes with all the hotel chains that are utilized by the WWE as a corporate client, which is most of the major chains. So because of that, they were scrambling to try and find a location,
Yeah.
and they managed to find a independent hotel at the San Jose Garden Airport, and that's going to be where WrestleCon is.
Yeah.
And I
Nice.
had a blast at WrestleCon, and they're doing some things this year that will improve. It was a little congested inside because of the featured guests, so they're going to separate the featured guests this year to make it a little less congested.
Nice.
And then they're not going to have on-site registration because that totally fucked up. When I first got there was like a mile-long line because they were giving priority to walk-up tickets, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. What was the point of pre-ordering? And it caused a kind of a ruckus.
Oh no.
Let me tell you, man, I thought angry nerds at Comic-Con were angry. You know, angry wrestling fans gets kind of scary because a lot of them are guys.
In their head.
Because angry wrestling fans will try and fight things and people.
Yeah.
And so it gets a little bit more intense than angry nerds at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these guys are large wannabe wrestler dudes. So, but it was fine. I had a good experience the entire time. I went to Raw and SmackDown. I gotta say, the Raw after WrestleMania was everything I thought it was gonna be, and then some. Both for just the content, but I feel like that could have been anything in that show. The crowd was insane because it's mostly people coming from WrestleMania. A lot of people with like the travel packages, so it's all the overseas people.
Yeah.
It was weird the contrast of that to the SmackDown I went to in Lafayette. That was like 2.5 hours away, which was a way more local crowd and much more straight up root for the faces.
Yeah.
Boo the heels. It was weird. It was weird watching what literally the next day Bray Wyatt get almost booed out of the building when the previous night was like the dawn of the huge "he's got the whole world in his hands" chant.
Yeah.
And it was also the dawn of the John Cena sucks. Like John Cena sucks. Like that happened at the Raw. And then like the next night, it was like night and day.
Yeah.
But that was because it was a very local. Rural crowd, I guess.
You're trying to avoid saying redneck right now.
But it was still a lot of fun. And the SmackDown, for half the price I paid for Raw, I got to sit like way closer. I was on like the level 1 risers.
Yeah.
And you could kind of see me on TV a few times.
Nice.
It was fun. And Hulk Hogan came out with Daniel Bryan, and I totally marked out. So I was still super excited.
That's your number one from childhood and your number one from today together.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it was great, and I made really good friends with the guy sitting behind me at WrestleMania, and it was just so great, like watching the conclusion of that storyline, like because we were there for I was there for the beginning of this.
Yeah.
At SummerSlam, and it was that journey, and then I was there for the close when he won the title, and moving into current events, it turned out it was the close, because 1 month later, he would surrender those titles, well, a little bit over a month, he defended it once.
Yeah.
And he had some long-term nagging injuries that he finally had to address, and now nobody's even knows when he's coming back.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will be by WrestleMania next year. Maybe we could see. I don't know what's going on with Daniel Bryan. It's a super bummer, and now they're doing this dumb thing where he may have cheated on Brie. I don't understand. I don't know why they're.
Yeah, that's.
I guess they're just doing it to keep him like in the storyline.
Yeah.
But couldn't you come up with a better thing? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll see where it goes. It's a little too early to make some harsh judgments.
I think what it is they know no one's going to give a shit about Brie on her own. So if they find a way to keep reminding, no, she's she's a Daniel Bryan proxy.
Yeah, I guess they want to bring heat for this match, which I'm actually excited for this match.
Are you?
Yes, I think it's exciting. I think Stephanie's got her A game.
Does she?
I was very impressed. I was impressed with her pedigree skills, and she's great on the mic.
She has. I will say this: since I was not happy at all with her when she first started getting on the mic again recently.
Well,
I think she's
gotten warmed up. I think
I think now that she's warmed up, she is greatly improved. I will say that.
And I think I mean, I don't know. It probably isn't going to be the greatest match, but I think it's going to be exciting, and I think Daniel Bryan's going to show up, and I'll freak out when that happens. And
yeah,
I don't know. This SummerSlam card is stacked, and if that's like the least exciting match, then that's got a lot of things going for it, I think. So in addition, I mean, in some ways you can see is right now we should be all totally depressed because Daniel Bryan is out indefinitely after this crazy like rise from just mediocrity and a string of shitty finishes, and then having it all come together as I had hoped and prayed for and bought those tickets hoping against hope that that's what it would be, and I got that, and I also got to witness history as Brock Lesnar beat Undertaker for the streak, which was
we haven't talked about that yet.
The most shocking thing I've ever seen, and let me tell you, being there live to just watch the air leave the Superdome and 70,000 people in silence, and the kid next to me, oh dude, the kid, there was this son and his kid next to me. They were really cool, and I had been talking to the kid like the whole time, like we were looking at the program, and he's like, cause he like, it was kind of cool. He like, I was talking to the dad, and I was like, oh wow, you really know your stuff, and the kid was like treating me like some kind of sage. So cause he's like, oh, do you remember? He's like talking about old WrestleManias. He's like, WrestleMania 3, what was that like? And I'm like, well, that was when this happened and this happened, and I was your age, and like just like talking to this kid like some old sage, and he was like really into it. It was really cool, and then and I was talking to the dad, and he showed me his sign, and he's like, this is for when Undertaker beats Brock, and it was 22-0.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, no problem. You're gonna get ready to get that sign out. Yeah. And then watching this kid, he wasn't sad, he was just so angry, and then he tore up his sign and tore it to shreds. And the guys behind me they were just, because they were like super like smarky, but they were cool, but they were like, that was a botch finish. I'm like, guys, I don't think so. Like I don't think if that we're talking about the Undertaker here. If he was gonna win, he would win. If he wasn't, it was his idea. This is the Undertaker. I'm like, I know it's shocking, and at first I was like, yeah, I don't know what happened. That was weird because we were up high, we could see really well, but it was still kind of like, what happened with that count? It was weird, and then it took him a little bit to put the 21-1, but I think that was all planned just to add to the shock of the moment, and it was crazy. And I was really glad they put that Divas match after, because they could have put anything after that, and it would have been just because those Divas got booed out of the building like the entire time. Anybody could have come out there and would have just got like the British, like the foreign fans that were sitting like in the front rows and stuff. They were going ape shit. I'm like, oh, this is it. And then I'm thinking like, if Daniel Bryan, that's when I knew like 99% that Daniel Bryan was going to win, because I'm like, if Daniel Bryan doesn't win, there is going to be a riot here.
There will be deaths.
And me and some of the guys up there, we seriously started like looking around for the exit. Like, okay, what is the plan here?
Yeah.
And then some of them are like, fuck it, I'm going to rush the ring if he doesn't win. Like,
these British hooligans.
Like a bunch of these guys, there was a bunch of drunk guys right below us, and they were like, dude, if Bryan doesn't win, we're heading down there, right, guys? They're like, yeah. And like, it was getting crazy. It was a little nuts, and I'm like, oh god, what's gonna happen? But after Taker lost, I'm like, okay, Bryan has to win. And the way it was going, I'm like, okay, they're teasing this. He's gonna have Like I'm like, okay, something's gonna happen. It's gonna make it look like Bryan's out of the match, but then at the last minute he's gonna come back, and sure enough, that's what happened. And it was crazy. It was crazy. Like
Yeah.
that place went nuts. It was awesome. But CM Punk's gone.
Yeah.
So between Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, those are my two favorite wrestlers.
I'm gonna say, of my 4 favorite wrestlers, one is currently wrestling.
Yeah.
He's getting buried. Maybe he'll be Intercontinental Champion after SummerSlam.
Yeah. Maybe
not.
I don't know.
Dolph Ziggler, of course, is
Yeah.
what I'm referring to there. Otherwise, I had CM Punk,
Yep.
Daniel Bryan,
Yep.
and Alberto Del Rio was one of my favorites.
So
Who?
Punk is gone. He says
Yeah.
he's never coming back.
Yeah.
Never. Do you believe him?
Well, he said it kind of facetiously, as if.
Yeah, I listened to the interview and I'm like, I don't know. And plus, with wrestling, you can never say never.
Yeah.
Like, way crazier things have happened. And I think somebody that truly is like part of the business the way he is, I feel like he'll take a few years off like Jericho did and realize like I can't not do this.
Yeah.
And then come back and it'll be awesome. So hopefully, I mean, I'm happy for him. You could tell towards the end there he was super worn out.
Yeah.
He was hurt. He wasn't happy. So
and
maybe
if you follow him on Twitter like I do, towards the end there was a lot of
There
I've
was
ever
a
seen
lot
a
of-
video where it's like someone's like you look like
That
you're
match-
50, and he's like, yeah, I feel 80, like just like very.
And then like somebody tweeted at him like because I remember he had that awesome match with Rollins and somebody's like that was amazing. He's like that was garbage.
Yeah.
I'm like Jesus.
He just seemed very burnt out towards the end.
Yeah. So I mean, and then he got married to AJ Lee, who I was kind of very surprised when she showed up.
Yeah.
But that's exciting that I'm glad she's still wrestling.
Yeah.
And hopefully Vince will be smart enough to be nice to AJ so that keep the door open for a CM Punk return.
Yeah. And have the rumors now officially gone away, even if they're going to sue him?
Hmm?
Because the rumor for a second was that.
I think that was just rumors. It seems like because they're still selling his merchandise.
Yeah.
He's in 2K15. I think everything. I mean, there's still money to be made there, so I don't think they.
Yeah.
They still did. They had his documentary prominently on the network.
Yeah.
They're not given the treatment when somebody's like released. Which, speaking of that, there were a shit ton of releases.
Yeah.
So there was. People were calling it like Black Wednesday or whatever day it was. So we had some that were shocking, some not so shocking. Not all of them. None of them were shocking, I guess.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised at Drew McIntyre, seeing as how much Vince invested in him.
Yeah.
But I still see he's young.
Yeah.
I think he'll be back at some point. And he's going to do awesome on the indies, I think.
Yeah, there's definitely he'll find.
Out of everybody that got let go, I think he has the most potential.
Yeah.
I would say. So we got Jinder Mahal gone.
Yeah.
So 2 out of 3 MB are gone.
Yeah.
So Drew McIntyre. Then another guy they put a ton of investment into. Funkasaurus.
Yeah.
That guy. Brodus Clay. So Brodus Clay's gone. Who else? Yoshitatsu.
Yeah, I mean, nothing against him, but.
What's the other guy? Kurt Hawkins. No surprise. Yeah. JTG finally. I don't think if you look because there's matches Cage Match even records house shows. He hadn't wrestled a single match in over a year.
Yeah.
And people were there figure out there was all kinds of conspiracy theories he's got something on the company, he's doing some kind of secret thing. People were he's the rabbit in the road, which Dolph Ziggler almost got the internet to believe that it was Zack Ryder.
as the rabbit.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Um.
I have the full list here, by the way, of the
Okay. Yeah. Go
people who
ahead.
were released. So, other than the ones we already said, Oksana was released.
Oh yeah, that was a little surprising.
Yeah. Teddy Long, gone.
Oh, that was a bummer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Come on.
Vicky Guerrero retired.
Who? Yeah. What exactly happened there?
Well, I think her contract was up, and it was. I don't know. I think maybe she was ready to take a break or retire. I don't know if she's ever going to come back, but
Yeah.
it was pretty mutual. I think it was more mutual than the releases.
Yeah. Camacho was released.
Oh yeah, which was a bummer, but it
Yeah.
makes sense because now that Hunico is Sin Cara, they don't
Yeah, he doesn't really have.
doesn't have a
That's
partner,
fine.
and he wasn't really doing a whole lot in NXT,
Yeah.
and so I don't know. I mean, I guess that one kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Evan Bourne, which is another one that feels like it probably would have happened sooner,
Yeah,
given his multiple wellness
but
policy
he's going to be
violations.
back and doing. He's already back on the Indies doing awesome shows at Evolve.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre did a show.
And Drew McIntyre, yeah. So you'll be seeing those guys.
Yeah, and then Mark Harris, the referee.
Yeah, and then also Justin Roberts, which was very surprising.
Yeah, that wasn't the.
Yeah, that wasn't the initial one. So then you had, and then later on you had Justin Roberts, which was super bummer, and then really surprising to me and bummer was Ricardo Rodriguez.
Yeah.
But he had a wellness violation. Only
Yeah.
one though.
Only one.
But
I guess
then,
since he wasn't with Del Rio, and then he wasn't with RVD even.
But they were using him in NXT as El Local, teaming him up with Kalisto. But I guess
that was great when they did that for.
Yeah, but I feel like Kalisto, they're
forgot
trying
that
to
was him.
move him up. That maybe now the Kalisto can. He's teaming now. They got Kalisto teaming up with Sin Cara.
Yeah.
So I guess they just didn't quite have a spot for him. But also he was doing the Mexican announce team.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know.
I forgot he did that
But
too.
now him and Alberto Del Rio are going to be reunited. Del Rio is actually appearing at AAA this Sunday, but Ricardo, he still has a no-compete clause in his contract.
Okay.
But I think Alberto Del Rio is like, fuck you guys, and he's going to be at AAA's big show on Sunday, which that's a big deal.
That makes sense. That's he was huge
where he
there
came
for
from.
like
Yeah.
10 years.
So he's going to be back doing that. But Ricardo Rodriguez, Alberto Del Rio's story is a little bit more. It's a little different.
He allegedly, what I read was that he had allegedly slapped a social media person
Who made a racist remark.
Which, so I mean, depending on what actually happened, someone's the bad guy here, and it's not.
Well,
clear.
yeah. Well, okay. I understand why he hit him, but you don't hit somebody at work. The end. And
yeah.
if I were to hit somebody at my work, I would get fired. And I understand this is wrestling, but you still can't actually go and hit people.
Do we know what the remark allegedly was?
It was something where they were like, "Who's gonna clean something?" And the guy's like, "That's Del Rio's job."
Mm-hmm.
Suppose that's what the
Here's
word
what I'll
is.
say. You hit someone at work, you get fired. I understand that, but I wouldn't think of him as a bad person.
I'm not thinking of him as a bad person per se, especially if it was a racist remark. I just say maybe you could be a little smart about it. Wait till after work to hit somebody.
I'm just bummed to not see him wrestle anymore.
I'm super bummed. I think he was the best heel in the company.
I agree.
A lot of people don't agree with that. I think they're crazy.
Yeah.
I think he was awesome, and to prove that, I just watched SummerSlam last year again that we were at. That match with him and Christian was incredible.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And his matches with Swagger were great.
Yeah, and he
All
does.
his matches.
He's like a
interviews are great.
really good technical wrestler. He can do the high flying stuff because he's got a lucha background. Like he was great.
So that's a bummer. It's a super bummer.
I don't understand why more people don't recognize that, because he can cut good promos too.
I don't know. I think it's a little. It's
Racism.
A little bit. Which is unfortunate. So that's a bummer because he's probably not coming back since he left on bad terms.
And he's also probably he's going to AAA.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer for me because I don't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So, but it makes sense. I mean, it's obvious. That's probably better for him.
So are you gonna try to watch AAA now?
What's the other one? There's AAA, and then what was it?
CMLL.
One of them airs on the local channels here. I forget which one.
Yeah.
And I watched a couple episodes, but at the end, it's like I can't. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I've been I think with Lucha it's a little bit different than watching Japanese wrestling, because Japanese wrestling isn't very story oriented at all.
Yeah.
And Lucha Lucha already is confusing.
Yeah.
And then if it's not in your language, like I watched some of the New Japan G1 Climax tournament to watch like AJ Styles, some of those guys, and I'm like, and I didn't need the commentary. I'm like, I know what's going on. These guys are fighting and they're beating the crap out of each other, and that's basically all you need to know.
Yeah.
You know, and Joey Styles is a bad guy, and that's about it.
AJ Styles.
AJ Styles. I did that again. Jesus.
I'm gonna say 50% of the time you refer to him, you call Joey.
So yeah, we got all those releases.
Yeah.
Coming off of, because supposedly WWE is having some money troubles. They've also let go some key backstage personnel.
Yeah.
Including their longtime timekeeper and guy who threw Steve Austin his beers. That guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, they let go some other staff. So I guess they're cutting the budget a little bit. But hopefully things will rebound at some point, and I don't know. But on the exciting end of things, just because it ties in with this, they did sign. There were some big signings to NXT, starting with Kenta. Not to be confused with Kent. See, you know what? This is so confusing. Like people, even Vader got this wrong because there is a older Japanese wrestler named Kenta Kobashi.
Yeah.
He trained Kenta Kobayashi, and to avoid confusion, Kenta Kobayashi just uses the name Kenta in all caps. This is the guy that's coming to NXT. This is the guy that Daniel Bryan and CM Punk borrowed moves from.
Yeah.
He's the originator of the Go to Sleep and the Flying Knee, tons of other stuff, and he's a crazy, as Daniel Bryan told us at Comic-Con, he kicks really hard.
Yeah.
And so that I hope here's what they should do. Bring him in as a Paul Heyman guy. I feel like they have to do that. Bring him in with Paul Heyman, or they should make they should even maybe make a stable or something. I don't know with some of these guys, but I know that WWE is really high on him because unlike certain signings with NXT, they made a big deal about this. They had a big thing in Japan with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
They made a because Kenta is huge in Japan. He is really huge in Japan. So I'm hoping the best for him here. Also along those lines, New Japan and European star Fergal Devitt, also known as Prince Devitt, signed. Have you ever seen him wrestle?
I don't believe so.
You should watch. Just look up Prince Devitt. He's well known. Not only does he have an amazing style, but his entrances are nuts.
Yeah.
Like he does all kinds of crazy makeup, and like he's done like when the first time I saw him, he had this thing where he was just all black with like a skull thing. Another time he came out as the Joker. Another time he came out as Hannibal Lecter with like the gurney and everything.
And it worked out better
the face mask
than that guy we saw at MWE.
Oh, dude, like a million times better. It's like what they were dreaming of.
Yeah.
And like all his entrances are crazy and amazing. He's a super nerd, and he's amazing light heavyweight wrestler.
Nice.
So again, should be awesome if they use him correctly. Finally, the big one that just was announced officially a couple days ago is Kevin Steen is officially started at NXT.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah.
When you said the big one, I thought you were going for something else, which we still haven't talked about technically.
Well, this one is this one's real. I know confirmed.
Yeah.
So and they've already said that one of the big things today that was being reported on, I don't, again, this is all hearsay, but they're already, like, they were telling Dean Ambrose not to use the rolling cannonball because they want Steen to use it when he goes up to the main roster.
Yeah.
So that's exciting, and I think Steen, he's in the best shape I have ever seen him in.
Yeah.
And if you've never seen Kevin Steen, he's incredible.
Yeah.
And he's amazing on the mic. I hope they bring him in as a heel.
Yeah.
But
Very,
he can do both.
very clean man. Brushes his teeth before matches.
Yeah, he's brushing his teeth. As opposed to Joey Ryan.
Yeah, there's a real contrast there at the QBW shows. I was in the bathroom the same time as Kevin Steen, and he was brushing his teeth before the match. I also was in the bathroom with Joey Ryan, who did not wash his hands.
Which is very Joey Ryan. He's in character.
He was in character, even in the restaurant.
Keeping it sleazy.
Yeah.
But so that's exciting. And then the question mark, and it seems to be less of a question mark because he hasn't taken any indie bookings recently and is not on the next PWG show, Willie Mack.
Yeah.
Which that's really exciting.
If that turns out to be true, that'll be awesome.
Because he's a big man, but he's crazy agile.
Yeah.
He's amazing on the mic. He could be a huge star, I think.
Yeah.
Because he's big, but he can move around, and that's the coolest thing about all these guys, as Seth Rollins pointed out on his Twitter. These guys have all wrestled each other.
Yeah.
So, like, they are familiar with each other, and we're gonna see some awesome matches. Because people talk about Sami Zayn and Cesaro. You want to know why those guys are so awesome in the ring together? Because they've been wrestling each other for years.
Yeah.
And this is just gonna add on to that. Cause
we're gonna like a whole generation of wrestlers.
Yeah, that's what I like. That's what Seth Rollins pointed out. He's like, this is my generation. We're taking over.
Yeah.
Because all these guys came out of the same like indie class. Like, there's a bunch of guys that are already in. Like, you got Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. Even Luke Harper was a long time indie. And he was there. Cesaro, Sami Zayn, Adrian Neville.
Yeah.
Those guys all come from like Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, Ring of Honor, some of these other smaller indies, Dragon Gate, CZW.
Yeah.
And they all wrestled each other for years and went on the roads for years. So this is a super exciting time. This is one of the main reasons why we're not totally depressed with the departure, because there are so many huge. I mean, for me right now, like, my favorite wrestler right now is probably Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, he's really killing it as a solo wrestler.
He's killing it.
Yeah.
I think him and Rollins both are killing it. Reigns, not so much. I think Reigns is just turning into a generic super face.
Yeah.
But I think he's still exciting. It's still fun to watch, just not nearly as fun as Rollins and Reigns.
Yeah, I just don't think he has the right angle right now.
Ambrose.
I think he could still.
I mean, yeah, he's gonna be huge. It's not quite. I don't know. I mean, he's gonna be like all the kids are gonna love him. They do love him. I think they're setting him up.
And Reigns, good stuff.
So that's exciting. I feel like, which is sad, because before, in the time that we haven't recorded, we've watched Cesaro get a giant push and then basically buried.
Get a giant push off a cliff.
Yeah. What the hell, man?
Yeah.
What happened with that?
I don't know.
Like, the night after Raw, I'm like, holy shit, it's happening. Like,
gonna be huge.
Cesaro's huge.
Gonna break big finally.
Barrett is getting big. I'm like, that's all happening.
Yeah.
And then Barrett's out until the end of the year, at least. He's saying. And that injury looked painful.
And this is the second time he got an injury just as he was starting to get a big push.
Oh, yeah.
To him like a year ago too.
And this was gonna be like, this seemed to be the push. Like,
yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure he was gonna win Money in the Bank.
Not
It seemed
anymore.
like it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like what they're doing now, though. I really do, with the briefcase. So speaking of Money in the Bank, Seth Rollins won Money in the Bank,
Yep.
which I'm fine with.
Yeah, it's good.
John Cena won the World Heavyweight Championship.
Sure.
But I still think it was a good card. I thought it was. People seemed to shit all over it. I enjoyed the matches.
I didn't mind the show as a whole.
I thought the Money in the Bank match was really exciting, and when like for a second there, I have a friend, an old coworker who's a huge Kofi fan, and I'm like, holy shit, it's gonna happen. Nope. Like I did that. Those false finishes were great.
Yeah, Kofi's place. I don't think Kofi's ever gonna rise above. Just he does the cool thing at the Rumble.
It's unfortunate because I have a huge appreciation for Kofi.
Yeah, Kofi's great.
And he's been around. I don't know. He'll get his day in the sun at some point, maybe. John Cena is just indestructible, and until now, hopefully. I mean, we'll talk about that in a second. But another super exciting news. We were at Comic-Con.
Yeah, that's what I meant when I said the big person they signed. I thought you were leading towards that.
No, I was talking about the NXT news signings because we still don't know. So we went to Comic-Con. If you haven't seen it online yet, it's weird that they're not mentioning it on Raw. I assume that they would be, but I guess I don't know. But it was on WWE.com, and I think they briefly mentioned it on a couple other things. I had assumed it was like this is the big reveal, because at the end of the Mattel panel, which already was awesome, and it had Paul Heyman and Hulk Hogan and Daniel Bryan, which was so great.
Yeah.
So great. And Michael Cole, I guess, was. But that was awesome.
You know what? Actually, I will say, Cole was really good at that event.
Cole was really good. He was humorous and he took digs at himself. And
yeah, I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah,
moderating that event.
He should moderate more panels. He was way better than the Miz.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Miz hosted it last year.
Yeah.
That's another way you can know that Dolph Ziggler's stock has gone way down. Went from being on the highlight of the Comic-Con panel to not being on it at all.
Yeah.
Poor Ziggler. But it seems like they might be pushing him again.
But hopefully, but he's been pushed a couple times now, and
yeah, I feel like that was. Do you feel like him? I don't know. I think that losing that momentum of getting injured the week after he won the world title, the night after WrestleMania, which was, if he had managed to keep that going from the night after WrestleMania, he would probably be the world heavyweight champion right now. If that had kept on rolling,
yeah. Yeah, and I will say this too. The DVR recording of SmackDown recently glitched out. Specifically, every time Dolph Ziggler was on the screen, and during no other times. Which I suspect Vince is kicking a little money back to DirecTV to make that happen. I was infuriated.
And then our other wrestlers that I remember we were big on Sandow. Speaking of Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
And look at what's happened.
What happened there?
I don't even know what's going on there.
Yeah,
First of all, he loses to a one-armed man.
Yeah.
Literally one. Cena had one arm.
Yeah.
And he still lost. That'll kill you right away. Ugh. That's what also bothered me about Cena losing to Del Rio, who has a freaking arm finisher, and he still manages to be superhuman.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
That frustrated me.
Here's
what I will say about Sandow's weird.
I do love his random gimmicks and things.
Yeah, he's great at it.
He's hilarious. My favorite thing was when he dressed up as Paul Revere. The elbow is coming. The elbow is coming.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Some of the jokes that he makes are really funny. It's just a shame.
Yeah.
Because he's insanely talented.
He is great, and then I don't know what. Because he's still, they're still acknowledging him as a man who is named Damian Sandow.
Yeah.
On the commentary, but he's not, the intellectual thing is not part of his character anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know what.
And then for a while they were doing a thing where he would hijack the pre and post show and do these cool promos, but now they don't really have the pre and post show.
Yeah.
Because I think again budget cuts and whatnot.
Yeah.
So he hasn't been doing that because. I thought that was kind of interesting. But what do you think of Stardust?
I like it. I like
I like it a lot.
I like anything that gets Cody Rhodes airtime, and
And
I dig the character. Yeah, I
I like the
really enjoy
character,
it.
and I love that his moveset is completely different.
Yeah,
Like, I love that he went that extra mile where he did a diamond dust, which is hella dangerous.
yeah,
Um, but that's cool that they let him do that stuff. And then it's nice to still see Gold Dust, and because I was worried that, like, if Cody got over huge and they didn't include Gold Dust, then Gold Dust would kind of be back to. And I like Gold Dust a lot,
yeah,
especially now. Like, he's still,
yeah.
I still think, I don't know, Dustin Rhodes. I don't know if that's sobriety or if it's some kind of superpowers, but
Some,
the fact that he's like
yeah,
the best that he's ever been in
I
his
think he might be taking
career.
a limitless drug. Something
Yeah.
going on because you
Something.
watch his old matches and he's clearly much better now than he was.
Yeah. And I've been watching a lot of his old, even like his old Dustin Rhodes matches in like mid '90s WCW when he was like in his 20s.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy how good he is now.
Yeah.
Like, he does like moonsaults and hurricane ranas and all this stuff like nobody's biz.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Well, anyway, so at the Comic-Con panel at the end, they announced the new Sting figure, and then to top that off, Sting's music came on,
Yeah.
and we were like, is it going to happen? Going to happen? And then all of my wildest dreams came true, and Sting came out in full paint with the fucking bat.
Yeah.
And as Benson will say, I lost my goddamn mind.
Lost his fucking mind. Brendo leapt up, was shouting, "Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit!" Brendo was going crazy.
And Matt has seen me in a bunch of mark-out situations, and this was...
None of them even touched this.
Well, because it's Sting. It's Sting. Yeah. This is a guy I've been watching since almost as long as I've been watching wrestling. Like, I think... Like, I watched WWF. I didn't even know WCW existed because we didn't have cable at first. And then we got cable, and then I think at some point I just was flipping the channels and on WCW Saturday Night.
Yeah.
And my brother and I were like, whoa, this guy's awesome because he's got face paint on like the Ultimate Warrior. And little did we know that they like started off together. And but yeah, so Sting, I've been a huge Sting fan like pretty much my entire life. And to be able to see him in person, and then also, like, I saw him in person at WrestleCon when he kind of teased. All he said at WrestleCon, and he didn't have his makeup on, so it wasn't as cool. Yeah. He came out. I didn't totally freak out. I was excited, but I didn't freak out because he just is like, I'm just going to tell you one thing. 31 is my favorite number.
Yeah.
Make that what you will. And that's all he said. And I was like, whoa. But then when he came out in the paint, at a WWE sanctioned event, making his, as Michael Cole, making his WWE debut.
Yeah.
At the small room of a couple hundred people that we were at.
Yeah.
And with the music and the bat, and he got up and he did the woo, and just thinking about it makes me excited. and then he said he wants to wrestle, and hopefully he will wrestle.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're going to try and make it happen. And it was just awesome seeing him up there with Hogan and Bryan and Paul Heyman. Like, that's just amazing.
Yeah, there was...
And you could tell that, like, Daniel Bryan was freaking out.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. And it was cool seeing, like, it's always cool to see those guys mark out. Like, it was cool to see Paul Heyman marking out about Hulk Hogan. Like, that was cool.
Yeah, that was really sweet. Like, it was face Paul Heyman at this moment. You don't see
that whole thing. It was you don't see it too often, but when it's there, it's great. Paul Heyman is amazing.
Yeah.
I want to buy his Blu-ray. I don't buy a lot of WWE Blu-rays because eventually they end up on Netflix and stuff. Yeah. But I think I want to buy this one just because I want to support Paul Heyman, and he's amazing, and he's one of the few managers that got his own documentary.
Yeah.
I think the only other ones are like Bobby Heenan, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was an amazing moment, and hopefully we'll see more of Sting. He's gonna be at SummerSlam for instead of Access this year, they're doing these panels. It's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Because they're like just for balcony seats, they're $50 plus fees. And if you want an autograph, it's like $100. And then if you want to actually get a photo, with one of the wrestlers, which is not even like on the one that Sting's on. It's not Sting. It's Roman Reigns,
Yeah.
and that's $200.
And that's like, they did that last year. They had these panels which you could pay that much for, but they also had access. So,
Yeah.
like,
So
you can't even sell this as like, oh, well, we're doing this cool thing we haven't done before. Like, no, you're doing the same thing you did last year, but you're not doing the thing that was still awesome and actually
Yeah.
affordable.
then we could actually meet a bunch of wrestlers and see
Yeah.
a bunch of cool stuff, and it was something fun to do to get you hyped up for SummerSlam. Remember, by the time Access was over, I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
hyped up.
Yeah.
Right.
The NXT ring out there. It was
Yeah,
great.
you could watch NXT matches. We saw Bo Dallas and Sami Zayn and all those guys.
Yeah, Rusev wrestling.
We saw Rusev against Mojo Rawley,
Yeah.
and I think that turned out that was like both of those guys one of their first matches.
Yeah.
So that was exciting. So I'm bummed about that, because at WrestleMania Access was even better than SummerSlam Access because there was more autograph signings and like different. It was a little bit bigger, a higher tier of wrestlers. So that was cool. Like I met Christian finally, and that was awesome.
Nice.
I also met Curtis Axel, which I really like Curtis Axel, and he was really cool. And I met Mean Gene and Howard Finkel,
Awesome.
and that was awesome. So it was cool.
Yeah.
So Sting at Comic-Con, that was awesome, and then he's gonna be, I don't know, maybe he'll make an appearance at SummerSlam. He hasn't made an appearance on any programming yet.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're saving that for.
Yeah, he was in the he was in like a
He was in the 2K15 video.
yeah, and
But
then the Comic-Con, and then that's it,
Yeah.
right?
But like people thought he was gonna be there at Hogan's birthday, and he wasn't.
Weird Al was there with a nice pre-recorded message, which
Yeah.
I really enjoyed.
Yeah. That
I was already skipping over Flow Rider, then I had to stop and go on to get to when I saw an accordion, and I'm like, that's got to be Weird Al, right?
I was also amazed at how coherent Scott Hall was,
Yeah.
which is a testament to DDP Yoga, I guess.
Yeah, and that
'Cause it was great to hear an old school Scott Hall promo,
yeah.
and he didn't mess it up. Which, even in his later years at WCW, he messed those
It's a
up.
bit, yeah, touchy.
So that was cool. I thought that was cool nostalgia, having the NWO back in the ring. None of those guys should wrestle.
No.
But Hogan now is saying he wants one more match, and no,
We don't need to see that.
because I feel like if he doesn't have a leg drop, his whole body's gonna fall apart.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see that. I don't want to watch Hulk Hogan like have a severe injury in the ring
Yeah.
and like move around like the 62-year-old man that he is.
And it's not even going to be like an injury with like a cool match leading up to it. Like it's going to be, he's going to injure himself for nothing, basically.
Yeah, I think I like what he's doing now is just fine. Bring him out every once in a while. Have him say, "Let me tell you something, brother."
Yeah.
Hype up the crowd.
That's
Like,
all, yeah.
let me tell you another
that's all he needs
thing.
to do.
When he came out, like everybody knew he was gonna come out at WrestleMania. But when Stone Cold and then The Rock came out at WrestleMania, that made me realize that I am at one of the biggest events of all time. Like when that happened, because that crowd, oh my God, hearing a Stone Cold and then a Rock pop, like right after the other, like that was crazy. Brought me back to like the heyday, you know.
Yeah.
And so that was exciting, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do at the next WrestleMania, which we get to go to because it's in Santa Rosa and right by our friend's house, and so we have free lodging and transportation.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's gonna be sweet.
It's gonna be sweet. So we should do an MBWS meetup.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 31.
Yeah.
I know some other people in the area might go. That'll be exciting. It's gonna be cool. And I'm hoping, because I am moving to Austin, Texas, towards the end of the year, and the big rumor is that either next year or the year after it's going to be in Dallas, and I could then go to that WrestleMania.
3 in a row for you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I want to go every year now because I had so much fun.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know if I could afford it.
Yeah.
Because that did take a lot of saving up, which I'm horrible at, and I gotta buy a PlayStation 4 because I want to play the real version of WWE 2K15.
Yeah.
And also, I just saw the new Silent Hill game. Looks amazing. It's produced by Guillermo del Toro.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, anyways, so speaking of SummerSlam is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Benson, unfortunately, you had to forfeit your ticket.
Yeah, I was supposed to go, but my friend selfishly decided to have his wedding shower that day.
What an asshole!
And I'm his best man, so
Best man can't really skip the wedding shower.
no.
Well, you will be missed.
Yeah, I'll watch it on the old WWE network.
Only $9.99 a month.
Yep.
So yeah.
I love JBL's handwritten sign for that,
Great.
by the way.
I'm just bummed because I like that we had our new tradition and because I feel like it's gonna be at Staples indefinitely.
Yeah.
Well, next year. Probably next year.
Will you come out for next year? You'll be in Austin.
Sure, I'll come out.
Okay.
Well, plane tickets are cheap from Austin to here. I looked it up, and also I'll have more money.
Nice.
I have a few things I plan to fly out for, probably WonderCon, WrestleMania,
Yeah.
WonderCon, Comic-Con,
Yeah.
SummerSlam. I'll fly out for a few. I'll fly out for those.
Right on.
So yeah, so SummerSlam is Sunday,
Yeah.
and we got a stacked card here. Let's start from the bottom. So we already discussed Brie Bella versus Stephanie McMahon. You're not so keen on it?
Yeah, I mean, as a Divas match go, it's
I think they've done a pretty good job building it up. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, the build-up's... I got no problem with the build-up.
so we got a rematch between Bray Wyatt and Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Luke Harper
I
and
look
Eric
forward to
Rowan
that.
are banned from ringside.
Yep.
I thought their last match was great.
Jericho always delivers.
Yeah, and Wyatt...
It's crazy how...
I don't know why the internet seems to have turned on Bray Wyatt, but I still think he's great.
Yeah. A lot of unintentional Bray Wyatt cosplay at Comic-Con.
And at WrestleMania. Some intentional, some not intentional. Yeah. That was the big joke Cole Cabana kept making. He's like, that's what that guy wears all the time. So, yeah, I'm excited about that. Then we've got Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton, which they have been building up pretty well. I
like Roman Reigns. My feelings on Randy Orton are well documented.
I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah.
It's just same old Randy Orton.
Yeah.
I'm a bad guy now. He's still not. I don't know.
I will say this for Randy Orton. Randy Orton seems to me as a guy, when I watch his matches, he seems to have a really good idea of pacing and how to build a match, but just zero natural talent or charisma.
I think you're right.
He's a guy who worked really hard and really learned his shit, but just has zero natural ability to build.
I mean, he was trained well, and plus his dad is an amazing wrestler, and his dad is one of the better heels.
Yeah.
That have been around, so I think that's where he gets some of that, and then I don't think he got the natural... he has no charisma. He doesn't... And I'm like, why can you at least just watch videos of your dad and be like, at least...
Even if you just, rip him off.
Aren't your dad good buddies with Roddy Piper? Take a few lessons from him?
Yeah.
I gotta say, that's the best thing about watching Saturday Night's Main Event. I'm watching... It's all on there now. Piper is incredible.
Yeah.
Best promos ever, period. I'm gonna say.
No disagreement from me.
Right up there. I would say for my dollar, I enjoy them more. He had this, because they did these crazy skits on Saturday Night's Main Event, and there's this one where he's sabotaging trick-or-treater. He's putting he put a bowling ball in one of them, and then he's and then he's just going crazy. He's like, here's all the candy. He's dumping candy in people's bags. And he's just going, you could tell he's having a great time, and Mean Gene's getting into it. And
have you
Oh,
have you listened to his podcast at all yet?
no, I haven't.
Well, he talks in one of them. He talked about the kind of vibe behind, and he was specifically talking about the famous Jimmy Snuggler with the coconut,
Yeah.
but just all those kind of sketch and little Piper's Pit segments and all that was basically like no one cared about them, so they just kind of let them do whatever.
Yeah,
So
you
he's
could
like,
tell.
well, yeah, what am I got Snuggler. What am I gonna do? And he literally just went to the grocery store and bought a bunch of fruit. It's like, okay, I'll be racist with the fruit, and that's what I'll do. And that's how that was born.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, right up there with Flair and Rhodes and
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
and Jake Roberts. It also has some awesome promos, and it also reminded me how amazing Rick Rude was, and it's sad that he's gone because Rick Rude was fantastic. Probably one of the most underrated heels, I think.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that.
Because he could make anybody look good. Like, a lot of the Ultimate Warrior's success you can attribute to Rick Rude.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think Ultimate Warrior is as bad as a lot of people make him. Oh yeah, the Ultimate Warrior died.
Yeah, we've talked about that on Popsicles, I know. I don't know if we've talked about it here.
Let me tell you, it was crazy that I was there for his that big speech that he gave on Raw, which was basically, when you look back on it, he's saying goodbye.
Yeah, his weirdly prescient speech.
Yeah, and it was nuts. And that was, you weren't there, but I marked out pretty hard.
Yeah.
When he put on the mask and did the promo, I flipped out. Everybody flipped out.
Yeah.
Even guys around me, they were like, "Oh, Warrior!" But by the end of that promo, everybody was going crazy. And they reminded us what it felt like to be 8.
Yeah.
And watching him just destroy people. And I don't know. And then I watched a bunch of the Warrior collection, and I'm like, there's nothing special to Warrior, but he had. You cannot deny the energy that he had.
I wasn't around in the '80s. I mainly know Warrior from WrestleMania 6.
Yeah.
And then of course his later comments on queering.
Yeah.
So I mean,
which is unfortunate.
I don't want to speak ill of the dead here. I don't really. I haven't seen a lot of the good side of him. But I was thinking about just the way he enters the ring, charging in, and then just I could see how that would be very exciting to watch.
It was, especially for young kids. Like, Ultimate Warrior was it, and then as you got older, you're like, this guy, that's all he does. But it was still exciting. Like, every time he came back, I would still get excited for a little bit, and then I'm like, oh, same old Warrior. But it was still exciting, and then just watching those old matches, it was such good booking on Vince's part, using him to his strengths to the extreme. And it was just when there wasn't enough substance there, so he couldn't, when they made him the guy, he couldn't carry the ball. I mean, that's pretty much the bottom line. Which is unfortunate, but up until that point, I think he did everything. I think he was definitely a product of his time, but you cannot. It was kind of a shame how I'm glad that the WWE is acknowledging that now, and as opposed to how they were trying to erase his legacy in the years past, to the point where they released that Self-Destruction of Ultimate Warrior DVD, which was hard for me to watch because they're just bashing on him for 2 hours, and I'm like, come on, nobody deserves this.
Yeah.
But I mean, he did kind of piss off a lot of people and say a lot of crazy things, and was just overall generally crazy for a lot of years. I mean, we're talking about a guy that did legally change his name to Warrior.
Yeah.
And his children's last names are legally Warrior.
And I didn't learn
his
about
website is insane.
Folk Industricity, which I didn't know about until recently.
Okay. I apologize. I thought everybody knew about that.
Which is a concept that I'm now kind of obsessed with.
Would you have enrolled in Warrior University?
I mean, if I was around in the '80s.
Did you read those testimonies? I'm just like, are any of these real? What the hell is this? People are like, I have changed my life. I am now and what was his whole philosophy? It was just basically don't give a shit about what anybody thinks.
Yes,
that's basically it.
Folk is like Focus, but without us, because it's about you.
Oh my god.
Folk. And destrucity is your own personal destructive power that you can wage on the worlds
And you
around
can
you,
summon the
basically.
power of the warrior.
Yeah, and folk and destrucity are hand in hand of the two most important characteristics you must have. Uh,
Wow.
which is, that's just fantastic.
Well, warrior, you will be missed,
Yeah,
and I enjoy watching his stuff. The Warrior collection is on Netflix now. If anybody cares,
yeah,
it's pretty cool. They have like some old. They have an old Blade Runners match, which
nice.
I had never seen a Blade Runner match before with him and Sting. Um, and yeah, if you want to, that's also one of those things like you follow, like who ended up in the long run there. I would definitely say Sting had the more substance of a
Yeah,
career
yeah.
because I think he was more dedicated to the business itself as
Hmm.
opposed to Warrior, who just seemed to be there. I think he had a love for the business. It was something. It wasn't something. It was something he could give or take.
Yeah,
When I feel like anybody that can just pick up and leave, I feel like they're not invested in the level that a lot of these guys are.
yeah,
Because like when you like as much as I enjoy Brock Lesnar, I can tell he's not really that into wrestling because if he was, he wouldn't just take off
yeah,
like he does. Which I'm interested to see what happens. We'll talk about this later. We've got a few more matches to go, but I'm super excited for this match. Lumberjack match, Seth Rollins versus Dean
yeah.
Ambrose. This is
This
gonna be amazing.
this is probably the match of the night for me.
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Um, I want to see
I've looked at the rest. This is definitely the match of the night for me.
I want to see Seth Rollins. No, I mean I want to see Dean Ambrose go full like Stone Cold and just beat the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
Like that would be awesome. I don't know. I'm just really excited. It's gonna be a fight. When when Ambrose came bursting out of that present, that was awesome. It was so ridiculous, but
Yeah.
also awesome.
Yeah.
That was fun. I
Yeah.
loved it. And then we've got a flag match. I don't know. Flag matches are dumb.
Yeah.
Talking about dumb gimmick matches. Jack Swagger versus Rusev, which I like. Initially, I was like, I'm like, this is pretty cool, but I don't know. Xenophobia kind of scares me.
Yeah, it's a bit of a worry how little of the Zeb Coulter and Jack Swagger character they changed when making them faces.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know. I mean, I get it, but I also am like, is this really what we want to do in the 21st century? Like,
yeah,
but then I mean, it's classic face heel
Russia versus
USA
America.
versus Russia.
Yeah,
But I also feel like there's not a lot of shelf life to this.
no,
So I guess they're making the most of it while they can.
yeah,
But I don't know. I don't know. It's a throwback for me, but it's also like I get a little bit like this makes wrestling fans and Americans look bad.
yeah,
And it's made the news because of comments that Lana made that some people interpreted as being about the like airplane that crashed, even though I think they were just generic heel comments.
yeah,
And I mean, Lana's great. Lana's probably the best. Lana and Coulter are the best things about
yeah.
this. And I love Dutch Mantel. I love Dutch Mantel. I love it.
His,
And so he's
his
fantastic.
facial hair is somehow only getting more and
It's
more
insane.
impressive.
It's
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
So I'll take this for what it is, but I'm just a little bit like, I could, I get it, but I also am like, this is the stuff that we should probably try to move on from.
Yeah, this just it reminded me of something. This was many years ago. JBL, when he was still wrestling, got in trouble for doing some Nazi saluting in a match in Germany.
Oh yeah.
Which
Isn't that illegal in Germany?
It is. What I really love about JBL, and that I think is a philosophy more of them need to adopt, is when people ask him about it, he's just like, "Yeah, I was playing a character. Fuck off." That was his response, which I don't know. That really made me like him a lot more, and I already liked him a lot,
Yeah.
even if he is super Republican.
Yeah. He does live in Bermuda, which is really random.
Yeah. Is that? I'm gonna assume that's tax related.
That's gotta be a tax thing.
Yeah.
Seeing as how he's like financial wizard guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's my like saving grace with how much I'm a fan of his is that he's very fiscally Republican. He hasn't like officially said queer doesn't make the world go round ever that I
Yeah.
know of. So it's like it's like it's just a difference of opinion.
Fine.
I cannot feel bad about liking him so much.
Then we have for the WWE Intercontinental Championship, The Miz, who is champion
Yeah.
in like a super heel way. I mean, I like what they're doing.
Yeah, I kind of like a heel
Super
or
heel Miz.
Hollywood Miz. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it, and I think it's a perfect foil for Dolph Ziggler.
I'll tell you, I was kind of against Hollywood Miz for a while just because I don't like the Miz in general.
Dude, I'm the Marine, damn it. That was amazing.
That was good. I'll tell you the line that sold me, and it was even the way he said, like, he had a good read of this moment. He was on commentary for some, Ziggler was having a match. He was on commentary.
Yeah.
And Cole said, I heard your mom was at last week's show. I heard you made her pay for her own plane ticket. And he just said completely straight, yeah, how else she's going to get here? Which was perfect. And I think at that point I'm like, all right, Hollywood Miz is all right.
Yeah, he's better than Face Miz.
No, absolutely, yeah.
And so Dolph Ziggler, do you think, is this Dolph Ziggler's moment to shine, or
I want to believe.
Are they going to drag this out a little bit more?
I want to believe it's his moment to shine, but I don't know.
I mean, it is SummerSlam. It's a pretty stacked card.
Yeah.
If they're going to do it, it'd be a good time to do it. Plus, I don't know. So we're just hoping. I think it'll be a good match.
Yeah.
Speaking of good matches, AJ Lee versus Paige.
Yeah. Great.
This feud is awesome. Heel Paige is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think AJ Lee's great. I've always thought she was great.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see. I think this is going to be a good wrestling match.
Yes, I'm excited for this.
And I'm excited for this. So that's, yeah. And then we got the big one. They've been hyping it up pretty crazy. Some great promos and more Paul Heyman. Amazing. Just some of the best Paul Heyman stuff we've gotten in a long time. John Cena, champion, versus Brock Lesnar. There's no way Cena's walking out with a belt, is there? They can't have John Cena beat Brock Lesnar right after they gave Lesnar the streak. That would be shitting on The Undertaker.
Yeah.
That would be shitting on the fans.
Yeah, you're right.
I know John Cena is Super Cena, but he's not Super beat Brock Lesnar Cena. And if he is, then we are all being played for idiots.
I hope he doesn't walk out of there with the belt.
I don't.
I've been thinking about it.
And after last year, so the only way I would even remotely, Brock Lesnar has to win. He has to win. Especially because if he does lose, that means John Cena's beat him twice, which is just not believable at all. And second, if John Cena does win, Rollins has to cash in.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen. It's too soon.
Yeah.
I don't see Rollins cashing in until like WrestleMania, maybe.
Yeah. Or the Raw after.
I see Rollins having that briefcase for a long time. He might even, with the way they're going with Ambrose, he might never cash that in. I think that would be kind of amazing. If Ambrose manages to stop him for an entire year.
Yeah, just never let him get the chance.
Yeah, I think they could take that to crazy lengths where they have some kind of random empty arena match and Ambrose still somehow finds a way to
he managed to be he's the first one to ever have his Money in the Bank expire.
Yeah. So if that happens, that'd be great. If he cashes in after WrestleMania or whatever, that's great. I think it's a little too soon for him to cash in.
Yeah.
So the only way I see this going is Brock Lesnar. I don't know if I know it's Cena, so I doubt Cena will tap out.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do like a Stone Cold WrestleMania 13 type of thing where he passes out in the Kimura or in something. Or maybe Brock Lesnar will just give him two F5s like he did The Undertaker, and they'll be like, "That's it. That's what pinned the Undertaker. He's done." And he'll kick
Uh,
out of one,
Yeah.
and then they'll do the second one. He has to win.
How do you think this is going to be as a match, quality-wise?
I think it could be good. John Cena is capable of putting on
I'll
good
say,
matches against
I've
good competitors.
I've been thinking about John Cena a lot lately, and I've been lightening up on him a little, to be honest.
Watch the Raw match of him versus Cena again.
Of Lesnar versus,
Fantastic.
what are you saying?
Of Cena versus Cena versus Punk.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But then you said Cena versus Cena.
Derp.
Yeah. And here's the thing about.
Watch the SummerSlam match again.
Here's the thing.
You tried to tell me that match was bad. I watched it again.
I'm trying to tell you I'm lightening up on him.
Okay.
But, okay.
Sorry.
But here's the thing about John Cena is I think he is capable of putting on a really good match when he has a really good opponent, and I would say that's also true of Brock Lesnar. And I think when you have two people who need a good opponent to have a good match, there's just
I don't
not
think
there.
Brock Lesnar needs a good opponent necessarily.
Did you see their first match?
No.
It's not great.
It's all right. Well, actually, I watched part of it. He just beat the shit out of John Cena for a while.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
I wasn't. I was bored.
Well, we'll find out. We'll find out on Sunday.
We'll see.
And we're gonna record an episode the next week after, so for reals this time.
Yeah.
And
Wait,
that'll
should we announce now that we have a guest on that show?
Is that official?
Yeah, I have confirmed with him via email.
Okay, then we're announcing it.
If there's anyone out there who listens to the Thrilling Adventure Hour or Welcome to Night Vale, the great Hal Lublin, who plays Philip Fathom on the first podcast I mentioned, and Steve Carlsberg on the second, really really funny guy. He's going to be a guest on our next episode.
Our first guest.
Yeah, I was looking at
Benson did it.
Meet up with him at Comic-Con. And he's going to be on the show next week.
That's exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. I can't wait.
He's going to be on our SummerSlam wrap-up show.
Yeah.
So we will be talking all about what happened at SummerSlam. All right. Well, we can kind of wrap it up here. Just real quick, I wanted to discuss some. Have you watched any TNA at all?
No.
I watched some.
It
was pretty good.
Yeah.
I watched their one of their Destination X or something like that, because they do
their pay-per-views that are just on TV.
Yeah, and it had the Wolves, which we have seen. We saw Eddie Edwards wrestle solo, and he was awesome.
Oh yeah.
And this is Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards teamed up against the reunited Hardy Boys, and it was actually an amazing match.
Matt Hardy's in TNA now?
Yeah.
Huh.
He's not Ring of Honor anymore.
Huh.
And they
So
are
they
actually...
went back to the Hexagon, by the way. I saw some rumors of this.
Yeah, they went back to the freaking Six Sides, which is stupid. I don't understand that. But this match was awesome. And the Hardys are wrestling Team 3D this week, which I want to see that.
So they're back together, too.
Yes. I think it's a one-night only thing, they said.
Okay. So who are the big stars in TNA right
now? I don't know their champion's name. He's like this big hairy guy.
Yeah.
He's like a wannabe Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
And then Austin Aries was champion.
Okay, so he's still going. That's good.
And he's still going.
Christopher Daniels, he's still active.
No, they left.
They left?
Bad Influence is in Ring of Honor.
Oh, I did not know that.
They're actually wrestling. They've been wrestling the Young Bucks.
Oh, that's awesome.
In Ring of Honor.
That's really cool.
And around the Indies too. They wrestled. They also had there was an indie match a few weeks ago. The Hardys wrestled the Young Bucks.
Huh.
Which I want to see that.
Yeah.
So, Christopher Daniels and Kazarian left TNA. Low Key is back in TNA, which is nuts, because I thought he was totally retired.
Yeah.
And he put on an awesome match. I saw him wrestle in an X match, and then some of these matches are good. Speaking of which, on the next pay-per-view after that, or it wasn't a pay-per-view, it was an Impact or whatever, Brian Cage was on there. I don't know, I think it might have been a one-time thing.
Huh.
but he looked awesome.
He was on what's that thing they do? Gut Check. He was on Gut Check a while back.
Yeah, he actually wrestled a match against somebody.
Huh.
So yeah, that's awesome. Good for him getting some notice because he's amazing and crazy ripped and.
I wanted he got the MBWS bump because he was we did a little thing with him on here.
Yes. So I don't know, and then interestingly, and then that's all to say that Spike canceled Impact.
That's I heard about that in the notes here for this episode.
I guess as of October or something. It's over.
So they're looking for someone new, or
I don't. Nobody knows what they're doing. There's rumors that they might re-sign a deal with TNA. It's just that their deal, they had some negotiation problems. TNA might go somewhere else. TNA might not have TV anymore and might go out of business shortly. Who knows? Because without TV, you're not a national wrestling promotion. You're kind of nothing without TV.
Yeah, without specific, because even like Ring of Honor is on TV in like 23 states.
Yeah.
But even that is not.
Yeah. But they're not even going to have that. So that's it'll be interesting what happens. There's rumors that Jeff Jarrett's to me is still a phantom wrestling promotion. Global Force Wrestling, even though it has a website and they have a working deal with New Japan Pro Wrestling, we have yet to see any actual wrestling programs or any announcements or signings happen. So I still don't know if this thing's real.
I just saw something on Wikipedia that says today TNA announced Impact is moving to Wednesday night. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Sorry, what?
It's according to Wikipedia, TNA announced today that Impact is moving to Wednesday nights.
Yeah, they're trying to move it.
So just until their deal's up.
But their deal is up in October.
That's crazy. That's so weird.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. It'll be interesting to see if Global Force Wrestling ever actually materializes. Yeah. I still don't know. It's funny. I had a really long conversation, and you're gonna laugh. People are gonna laugh about this, but he was really cool. I talked to Shane Douglas for a really long time about all kinds of stuff. He was super awesome. And when we talked about this specifically about Global Force Wrestling, he said he'd believe it when I see it. Jeff is a lot of talk about things. One of the things he said. So we'll see. But also, Shane Douglas is very angry towards a lot of promoters. So I don't know. And it was shockingly enough, the only person he had no bad things to say about was Bill Watts.
I remember you told me that.
But I don't know. Which I gotta listen to. Jim Ross had Bill Watts on his podcast, and I'd be curious to hear about that.
Have you listened to his podcast at all?
Yeah.
I haven't. Is it good?
It's all right. There's some that I liked. He tends to ramble on and on about stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like if my grandpa had a podcast about wrestling. But it's all right.
Does he talk about Oklahoma football a lot?
Not a whole lot.
That's what I'd check out.
But he has some really good conversations with a lot of good talent.
Yeah.
I don't listen to it a ton. I haven't listened to a lot of podcasts lately, but I've got a lot of wrestling podcasts, but I do tend to listen to. I listen to the 50th episode of Talk Is Jericho because it's Edge and Paul Heyman.
Oh, nice.
And it's amazing. I listen to a lot of Steve Austin shows. They're amazing. His conversations with Eric Bischoff are pretty enlightening.
Yeah.
Also, his podcasts with William Regal are awesome. And again with Paul Heyman, amazing. Yeah. Heyman's amazing. And his podcast with John Cena was pretty good.
Jericho's podcast with John Cena?
No, Austin.
Oh, yeah.
And Austin's podcast with Daniel Bryan and Jericho's podcast with Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan's a good podcast. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much what's going on. Oh, WWE just released an iPhone game, and it's in the Google Store as well. It's by 2K. It is called WWE Supercard. I have been playing it all day
Really?
long.
You
It's like
enjoy
this
this?
card game, and it's free, and it's awesome. I had a lot of fun with it.
Is it a card game? Is it like the old? There was at one point. I don't know if you remember this. There was a Pokemon card Game Boy game. Is it like
Yeah,
that?
well, kind of. It's not as intricate as like Magic or those games. It's just like your guys have values, and like you go head to head, and if you have a higher thing than the other guy,
Yeah.
you win. But then like you can level up your cards. You play matches to get more cards, to get better cards, and I don't know, it's fun, and I like collecting games, and I also like wrestling, and it's fun. It reminds
Yeah.
me a little bit of they had this old game called With Authority, like way back in the day. It's a little bit like that. They also have an actual card game called Raw Deal, which I don't think they make anymore, but that was like a actual physical card game where you would
Yeah.
like do moves and stuff. This isn't as complicated, and this is free. It's free. I played it all day while I was at work. It was fun,
Nice.
so I would recommend that. I'm super excited for WWE 2K15. They're gonna on the PS4 and Xbox One version. 2K is actually putting in the career mode where you'll start in like NXT,
Oh, nice.
and like that's gonna be sick. Plus they're doing rivalries, and the two rivalries that are in the game are Shawn Michaels and Triple H, and then CM Punk and John Cena. But they're gonna cover like years
Awesome.
of the rivalries, and there's gonna be DLC rivalries, and the graphics on the next gen systems look nuts.
Yeah.
And
When's
I feel like
what's the release on that?
October something.
I
I
gotta pre-order
actually
that.
pre-ordered the Hulkamania edition
Yeah.
just in case, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get it. But if I don't, I want to have it pre-ordered because there's a limited edition. It comes with like a piece of ring canvas and like a cool little Funko
Uh,
doll and some other stuff. So I thought it looked cool. I
yeah.
don't know yet for sure, but I just wanted to have it pre-ordered. It also, if you pre-order any version of the game, you get the Sting, and it's both Crow Sting and Classic Sting.
Yeah.
And it's the first time Sting has been an official character in 2K in any WWE game.
Yeah.
He's been in all of my WWE games, just ones that either I made or downloaded. But let me tell you, the downloaded wrestlers in this version, the downloaded wrestlers keep getting better and better. Like the downloaded wrestlers I have, like look that I've gotten like of Sting, like Kevin Steen, and like those guys for 2K14
Yeah.
are pretty amazing. Like it's crazy the detail people go to where like they have the same tattoos. They have like multiple their ring gear is like perfect with the logos,
Yeah.
everything. Like people get pretty nuts. But it's still nice to have the official one.
I got a
with the actual
grudge against them because I don't know what happened. Somehow my Doc Brown character got lost.
Oh, your Doc Brown was amazing.
I know it was, and it's not around anymore because somehow my memory on my own internal system lost it, and I can no longer find it up on the community creations.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to talk about? Did you read any of Big Apple Takedown at all?
No.
You gave up on that?
No, I got busy.
Oh, it's such a quick, stupid read.
I mean, I'm not gonna read it by next time because that's the
Come on, man. Chavo Guerrero, computer hacker.
You never told me that was in it. All right.
I thought I did.
I'm gonna read it.
Well,
I'm gonna read it.
and then you
I'm
know what
gonna
else?
read it. I'm gonna watch the 2K14.
You need to watch that in the
Drunk
spirit.
Ric
You
Flair.
should watch it this weekend. Celebrate SummerSlam.
Okay.
Drunk Ric Flair and drunk Jim Ross. What else do you need to know?
Jim Ross claims he was not drunk at that event.
That is bullshit. I want you to make your own decision.
That's his story. I can tell you that much.
He says the whole thing. He's like, "This is brought to you by Jameson," and he holds up a drink. He's drunk. I'm sorry. Like, I know the difference between Bell's palsy and drunk. And he is drunk.
Yeah.
Ric Flair is wasted. And he admits that he's wasted.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't expect Ric Flair to even
and he tells,
try to cover that
he gives some advice never to get married,
up.
sign a prenup.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad and hilarious.
Yeah.
My favorite thing of the night is when Paul Heyman goes up to the podium and grabs Jim Ross's script and just tears it up. He's like, we won't be needing this.
All right, I'll watch it.
They were supposed to ask each one of them like a bunch of questions. I think he maybe during the whole hour and a half asked 2 questions, and it's just rambling and crazy. It's awesome.
All right, I'll
you gotta watch it.
I'll watch it.
All right, so I think that's gonna do it for us here at Matt and Brendo's Wrestling Show.
Mm-hmm.
We will see you next week.
Yeah.
For our SummerSlam wrap up.
2 episodes in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so you get that
from us.
And then you will never hear from us again. No, we got to keep it going, just to prove Derek wrong.
Yeah, we'll keep it strong.
Don't forget, listen to all of our other Benview Network podcasts. Go to BenviewNetwork.com. Go to MBWS Pod. Send in your questions, comments, whatever.
Yep.
If you have things you want to talk about.
MBWS Podcast on Twitter, at MBWS Podcast, sorry.
I am at BrendoMan on Twitter.
I am at Dr. Matt Benson.
DR.
Yep.
And what else? Popsicles, that's the other show that you and I are on.
Yes.
We just released an episode from Comic-Con.
Yeah. Shut Up Leonard, I'm on that show. Me and Benview Network co-founder Andrew Linney talking about Community.
Radio Brendoman, we just had a 3-hour supersode. And you can also get the Benview Network Comic-Con Megacast, where you can again hear me gush about Sting.
Yeah.
And Derek make fun of me. So it's like this plus Derek making fun of us.
Yeah.
Basically. Same thing with Popsicles. We actually had some people that wanted a SummerSlam Popsicles, but you're not going to be there, and I know Derek won't go.
Yeah, so you can have just you.
I guess we're going to just briefly mention SummerSlam on the next Popsicles, and then Derek will put a stop to that.
Yeah.
And call us cretins or something.
Yeah.
He had fun at that wrestling match. I don't care what he says.
He did. Well,
he cheered for the chef.
There was a twinkle in his eye when the chef came out.
I know, and he can deny it all he wants, but we were there.
Yeah.
Well, so anything else, Benson?
No, I think that wraps it up.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of Matt and Brendo's Wrestling Show. I'm Brendan Creasy.
I'm Matt Benson.
We'll see you next time.
Sweet.
Cool. Well, next one we won't go so long.
Yeah, Tuesday at 5.
Tuesday at 5.
Yeah.
I'll put it on my calendar.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta go.
Okay, don't forget to
go get them food.
Don't forget to send me this file.
I will not. I will send it tonight. That is a guarantee.
Okay. Okay, so you said 5 p.m. Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool.
All right.
I'll talk to you later.
See ya.